On this episode of Locked On Angels, Yusei Kikuchi did something he hasn't done in over a month, and it helped the Halos beat the Rays last night. We're going to tell you what it was on today's show. I'm Mike, that's John, and we're the Super Halo Bros, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use our promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order, only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-hour energy shots today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We've been fans of this team our whole lives, and it's our fourth season as the hosts of Locked On Angels. We're here every single weekday, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking Angels baseball with you. On today's show, what role did Arte Moreno, Angels owner, play in the trade deadline? And what does the lack of movement say about the future of the Angels? Those are some of the conversations we'll be getting into today. But first, let's get to our takeaways from last night's game. The Angels win 5-1. Mike, it was a game where it just felt like they were cruising. We didn't have to stress. We didn't have to worry. We didn't have to, bite our nails at, wondering if they were going to make it all the way to the end. And for some reason, and I was going to tweet this out, and I thought, because they'll probably let me down. I don't dread watching the games the way that I did last year, even though I knew what kind of year last year was going to be. And, they sold at the deadline like they needed to last year, and that was great. This year, it's like, well, there's always a chance they're going to win. It never feels like it's like, oh, great. DeGrom's on the mound, and then they, put up 5 against him. They put up 5 on Adrian Hauser, who's been great this season for the White Sox. And here we are in this first game against the Tampa Bay Rays, and they did a really good job in this one, Mike.
Yeah, won 5-1. Our first takeaway from last night, John, all my favorite players drove in runs early in this game. I've been really hard on Taylor Ward and Jo Adell, and they were the ones that actually got the Angels on the board. Let's start in the bottom of the second. Angels scored 2. It was on a Jo Adell 2-run home run. It was the first home run by a right-handed hitter off of Rays pitcher Adrian Hauser this season, and first home run for Jo Adell in the last 14 games. John, his first home run since June 27th against the Nationals. It was great to see him come through. We're going to talk about Jo Adell and his hitting on tomorrow's show, so stay tuned for that. Then bottom 3, John, Angels scored 2 more. Nolan Shawnoel gets hit by a pitch. Mike Trout doubles, and then Taylor Ward hits an RBI single, knocks in 2 runs, had 3 hits last night. John, he's got 26 home runs and 84 RBIs. He's working towards 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. And they mentioned this on the broadcast last night. Besides Trout, Ohtani, and Pujols, the last guy to hit 30 home runs and knock in 100 RBIs was Mark Trumbo. Okay. So that's great company, I think, to be in. And then, of course, the Angels added one more run in the bottom of the 6th. Zach Neto, who's on a heater right now, RBI double, his 23rd double of the season.
So tell me this, if Taylor Ward gets to those numbers, are you okay with having him around next season, or did they miss their opportunity to move him last Thursday?
I think the answer is yes and yes. I think they missed their opportunity to get what they could have gotten for him at the peak of his offensive prowess, at the peak of his effectiveness, right? But next year, he's going to be in left field. And if he continues to be this version of Taylor Ward, then it's a benefit to the team and it's a benefit to this lineup. The problem is I think a lot of everydayers feel the way we feel is he going to continue to repeat this?
Right.
Now, history says he could because he was good last year. He's been better this year, and we'll see where he ends up. So if he has another great offensive season next season, it'll be great for the Angels and for this lineup. Make it a deep lineup, because if Taylor Ward's going, that's great for the lineup because he seems to be kind of the guy, like if he's going, everybody else is kind of going along with him.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean they can't do anything in the offseason as well. If he ends this season really well and hits those marks, then that's pretty good to offer to other teams. Say, hey, we got a 3,000 guy over here that we could make a deal for. So again, not in any hurry to get him off the team, but when you put up numbers like that, and all indications are he'll be able to do that over the next 49 games, you have options in the offseason. I think that's the most important thing, is that the Angels have options on what to do with their players. Second takeaway, Yusei Kikuchi battled, Mike.
Yeah.
This was the first time in over a month he went 6 innings. Here was a great tweet. Yusei Kikuchi's ERA by inning entering last night. Jared Timms, I believe, put this one up great from over at Talking Halos. In the first inning, he's had a 5.48 ERA. The second inning, just under 2. The third inning, 2.5. Fourth inning, just 1.64. Fifth inning, 2.91. And the sixth inning, almost an 8, a 7.62. And then the seventh and eighth innings, a 0. So the first inning in last night's game, the trend continued because he gave up a run on 2 hits. Now, there was Bryce Teodosio trying to lay out to make that grab, and that ended up being a double. But he did give up the one and only run that the Angels surrendered to the Rays. He shut things down from the second to the sixth, even though he threw a lot of pitches early on in this game. He allowed just 2 hits and 2 walks in innings 2 through 6. He did have to throw a lot of pitches to get through 3, 71 total at the beginning. Much more efficient after the third inning. 8 in the fourth, 12 in the fifth, 15 pitches in the sixth inning. So 35 total on the back 9, the back half, if you will. We've talked a lot of golf on the show lately. Kikuchi retired 11 of the last 12 that he faced. Got through 6 innings for the first time since June 25th. Getting back to the things that made him an all-star in the first place. And I know it's a gimme all-star, but he certainly deserved to go to the all-star game. And again, it's great to see him get through those 6 innings. Hopefully this is a step forward for him. We've been talking about the Angels in their bullpen sessions before they come out to start games. And Erica Weston made mention of the fact that he had been kind of laboring and doing a lot in those warm-ups before the game started. Kind of wonder if Jose Soriano had been going through the same thing. Because again, it seems like the translation from the start of the game at home, whatever's happening in the bullpen isn't or is affecting them going to the mound. And so this was a step in the right direction for Yusei Kikuchi.
Yeah, he threw 6 pitches last night, John. He 6 different types of pitches, and threw his 4-seam fastball more than he threw any other pitch. So really effective last night. Yeah, he had to labor, but then he started adding some pitches in the second, third, fourth, and fifth and sixth inning, and that was what it was able to help him to continue to get batters out and be successful. Now, third takeaway is Zach Neto had 2 great defensive plays last night. Top 5, Neto went deep into the hole at shortstop. He fielded the ball on a slide and he threw the runner out at first base, but he bent his glove hand backwards. And so it looked like he was hurt, but he did stay in the game. And then top 6, he had a play around the second base area. He fielded the ball comes out of his glove. He grabs it with his bare hands and throws the runner out at first. So I just love the hand-eye coordination of Neto, and I love the baseball IQ. He doesn't panic and knows that he needs to hustle, needs to get the ball over to first. Even when he bent his wrist, he didn't stop to, that hurt. He threw the runner out and then laid on the ground after it was over going, okay, that really hurt.
Yeah. Ow.
Yeah.
Fourth takeaway, Mike, Bryce Teodosio had his best game last night. Remember, we got a short look at him at the end of last season, but he got hurt very quickly up in the majors, and so he didn't stick around very long. But last night, 3 hits with an extra base hit, the first of his career, and a stolen base. They brought him up for his defense, but it's nice to see the offense come around. He had been 1 for 16 at the plate across last year and this year until last night. And I really like that combo of Christian Moore and Teodosio in the 8 and 9 so that Zach Neto can do what he did and drive at least one of them in.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what happened for Neto last night. So in the sense you get, Neto to be your leadoff guy at the beginning of the game, and then you give him a chance to drive in some runs if either one of those guys gets on base. Before we get to the rest of this fourth takeaway, I do have to say Christian Moore, you saw a little youngness, maybe some immaturity. You
Mm.
know, he had that. He did bobble the ball early on in the game, and he was late throwing to first base. And then there was the foot race to second base
super
later
close
on in the game, and it was
Mhm.
super close play, and he got the play. But I imagine there will be a talking to there
Hope
about
so.
some of that stuff on defense. Otherwise, he's doing really, really well at second base. But back to Bryce Teodosio. I really like that combo at the bottom of the order. But you had an interesting point that you wanted to make about Teodosio.
Yeah, since we're talking about him, this is the point I want to make. I know that when we see guys like Chad Stevens and Gustavo Campero and others called up, we can call them serviceable players, right? But when you watch Teodosio play, and I know last night was an anomaly, it was a great game. Hopefully he's going to catch some fire. That'd be awesome. Loved his interview after the game. But you can see the gap between the Christian Moores and the Bryce Teodosios. And that's really been the issue with the Angels, right? Like, you call up a player like Christian Moore, you call up a player like Zach Neto, Nolan Shonowell, but then there's nobody really behind them. And when they come up to the major league level, they look very overmatched and they look overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
It's Zach Neto and it's Nolan Shonowell and, right? Like, there's nobody that's behind them. And that's what was interesting about having Bryce Teodosio in the lineup, 1 for 16 before last night's game. Again, maybe something's going to click for him, and that would be awesome to have him defensively in the outfield, but also to be able to be serviceable and make some contact at the plate. But that is just a prime example of what has happened with this Angels minor league system. They've got some great players that are the number one players, but then the depth underneath that, it's just not there. And it's why they regularly get ranked really low by Baseball America and other organizations.
You mentioned his interview with Erica Weston at the end of the game, and he mentioned that he's been spending a lot of time in the cage and working with Johnny Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to hammer home this point. We were all over firing Johnny Washington, and the Angels were going through that terrible slump. And the reason being was because of the one-size-fits-all approach that Johnny Washington had tried to apply to this ball club, when everybody's got to be a little bit different. It's what we liked about him last year, the fact that it seemed like he was working with each individual player, trying to help Zach Neto figure out the leg kick stuff. Same thing with Jo Adell. Obviously, that's panned out. And then to hear that he's been working so much with Teodosio, and then you see him have this 3-hit night with that double, that's what I want, Mike. And that's the kind of coaching that I would like to see as a fan and to hear about as a fan. The one-size-fits-all approach that, you know, in general, I'm sure most teams have an idea of what they want to do at the plate, and it's kind of a mantra for everybody, but it just was not working at the beginning of the season. And so to hear more and more that Washington has worked with Trout and Adell and even Ohapi, right? And where his shoulder is. And that's the kind of stuff you want out of your hitting coach. You don't want a blanket statement that sums up, well, you got to end the at-bat when you got to end the at-bat, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thing was not working. And so it's great to hear and just reiterate the fact that less of that one-size-fits-all approach, less of that blanket statement, more of what we heard from Bryce Teodosio at the end of this game. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, what role did Arte Moreno play at the trade deadline? We're going to get into that conversation in just a minute.
We're in the middle of summer in Southern California. We're feeling it right now. It's hot, 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 and it's going to be hotter this week. So why not stay in and watch games and let FanDuel help you get in on all of the action while you're watching the games under the AC and staying cool. FanDuel is allowing you to track some of your favorite matchups, and the app is going to keep it fresh for you with new daily promotions every single day. It's easy to use, there's fast payouts, and it makes regular season baseball games feel like must-watch events. Whether it's a same-game parlay or you're watching your bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel is going to allow you to be a part of all of the action. And you can download the FanDuel app right now, and if you're brand new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the app or go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Big announcement, Michael. And just like last year, we're doing it again. Let's run it back. You want to come bowling with us, Mike and John, the Super Halo Bros, and Logan O'Hoppe? Well, you can at the second annual Logan O'Hoppe All-Star Bowl, Sunday, September 7th, 5 to 8:30 p.m. in Fountain Valley. We're going to go bowling together with Logan O'Hoppe, and we're going to help support the YMCA of Orange County. Here's how you can join us. Click the link in the episode description to get your ticket today. Each person who gets a ticket and is in attendance will receive one spot in the All-Star Bowl tournament, free food, beverages, and prizes, free arcade tokens for kids under 12 years old or Mike, and one free beer, wine, or cocktail ticket, and the opportunity to meet Logan O'Hoppe, get an autograph and a photo with him and some of his teammates. The best part is that we get to bowl in a fun tournament together and support a great cause. The money raised will make a very meaningful impact with the Orange County YMCA to help some of the local families access their programs for free. So click the link in the episode description to get your ticket today. Everydayers, if you want to join up with Mike and I on the lanes, use the promo code Halo Bros, all one word, HALOBROS, Halo Bros. That's going to get you a discount on your tickets. So let's bowl together. Come join us at the Logan O'Hoppe All-Star Bowl on Sunday night, September 7th, starting at 5 p.m., and we'll see you there.
John, what was Artie's role at the deadline? Well, Sam Blum, that was the question he asked GM Perry Minasian, and here's what Perry had to say. I mean, obviously, I talked to ownership. No doubt about that. I think every team talks to ownership. You talk about things, baseball operations, ownership. At the end of the day, we felt like this was the best way to go. To me, being competitive in August, being competitive in September, I think is very, very important. Playing meaningful games in August is very, very important. Not only for now, but also for the future, especially for our young players. So my thought and takeaway just from those simple comments, John, is something that we've kind of reiterated the last couple of days on this show. And that point that we were making is that Perry Minasian's not thinking about playoffs, right? He's not thinking about getting to the playoffs. He's thinking about being in competition and being competitive and playing close games to help the players grow and learn and develop. That's what I get from what he said there. Now, whether we agree with that or not is a whole nother conversation, but that's my interpretation of what he said there. I want these young guys to grow and to develop and to be the team that they could potentially be without saying, yeah, we're going to get to the playoffs and we're going to be able to make some impacts that way. Like he is talking about like last night's game. Mm-hmm. I want our team to be in a 5-1 victory. I want our team to be in a 8-5 victory on Sunday where they walk it. I want our team to learn how to do that. And that's okay, in my opinion. However, when your narrative has been playoffs,
right,
then that's the problem. And now when I go back and I look at some of the quotes early on, I hear like, we want to make a push to the playoffs, but you'll notice that there has been a slight change as the season went on. It went from playoffs to competitive. That's been the word that they've been hanging on to really since, I think, around May.
Yeah, so he talked about talking with ownership, aka Arte Moreno, and, having him involved in the conversation. And the way Perry explains it, it's, I think it's very important that they play meaningful games. I think this, I think that. I think it's important for these guys to be competitive. I think it's important for them to stick together. And that's all well and good. But you know where that message comes from. Mm-hmm. And he's got to present it in a way where he takes responsibility for it. And here's the thing, Mike. In Perry's explanation of things, where I want these young guys to get experience, I don't want to break up the band, I want them to stick together and try to win. I don't see a problem with that in the sense that, yeah, you want these guys, like if they want it, they got to go out and earn it. Mm-hmm. Are they have they been put in a position to where they could earn it? Well, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Two relievers who, Andrew Chafin has been awesome, by the way. The last 2 games that he was in, 2 relievers is not going to change that, right? Oswald Peraza is not you thinking about right now. You're thinking about, hey, how can we fix his swing and get him right for the next couple of years to come? So having said that, it's a win-win for ownership because as well as I do, that Arte Moreno is all about the entertainment value. It's not about, making it to the playoffs. It's not about having a team that, you feel pretty confident in getting there. It's, I don't want to deprive the fans of Shohei Ohtani. That's why I couldn't trade him. They got to come out and see him play, and that's his attitude toward this thing. And so if the Angels were to sell at the deadline, then the quote unquote entertainment value is out the window. And that's where ownership and Arte Moreno, that's where they land. That's where they think. And it makes sense when you're a marketing guy, you made all your money on marketing. The Angels organization is one big marketing ploy, isn't it, Mike? That's what it feels like sometimes.
Absolutely. Now, Robert Murray had some comments about the comments that Perry Minasian made and also that he said Arte made.
Yeah, Robert Murray, of course, very tapped into trade deadline stuff, offseason stuff. He's on the Baseball Insiders podcast. He's up there with the Passons and the Rosenthals in terms of baseball information. And so he is a very, very reliable, incredible source.
So here's a quote from his show from Robert Murray. He said this: "It's Arte Moreno, the team owner there. He is by far and away the worst owner in baseball. And I hope he sells the team because the Angels, they have some fun pieces on that team and they have people in that organization. Perry is a great human being running the show as their general manager, but he's got his hands strapped. And if he had a different owner, I think things in that world would look a lot different. They probably would have sold off. If Perry had a different owner, they probably would have sold off. And they would have been totally different. Things would have been totally different. Instead, they're trying to be, there's the word, competitive. Perry's trying to convince the media that they're competitive, when in reality, he knows that everybody knows that this team is stuck in pure mediocrity. Talk about a finger on the pulse of what a lot of Angel fans are feeling and a finger on the pulse of what is happening in that organization. And it's interesting, the word competitive keeps getting thrown out there. And I think the definition of competitive is, by Perry's mind and Artie's mind, we're in this thing. Not in this thing to win this thing, but we're in this. We're entertained, right? Oh, man, that was a really great game. It's Trent Rush on AM 830 after the game is over going, they had a lot of fight in them, right? Yeah. That's the conversation that I think competitive means to Perry Minasian and to Arte Moreno. John, when you think about Artie's involvement in all of this, and Perry, and even Robert Murray affirms it, seems to be a good dude. And if it was a different owner, he would have probably made really good baseball decisions. Why do you think that Arte doesn't let the baseball people fully do baseball things?
Because doing baseball things is not what's going to get you one penny more than what you earned last year. You and I have said many times on this show that the number one priority of John Carpino, team president, and Arte Moreno, team owner, is that they make a profit. Whether that's 1 cent over what they made last year, they have to make a profit. That's why he complained that, I'm going to lose money this season. No, you're not. You're not going to lose money. You're going to make more money than you did last year. And that's their goal. That's their priority, Mike. And so when you say, why doesn't he just let people do baseball people do baseball things? It's because, signing Albert Pujols brings people to the stadium, but building a, pitching lab and hitting lab in Arizona, that doesn't bring people to the stadium. That's not what people buy tickets for. And when you're an entertainment guy, you're a marketing guy who owns this team, and your right-hand man is also a marketing guy, that sort of stuff doesn't bring people to the stadium. And isn't that the end goal at the end of the day, is for them to bring people to the stadium? Now, does a pitching lab and a hitting lab eventually bring people to the stadium? Yeah, because then, you pick up some stuff. I don't know. Let's say, for example, Tyler Bremner, right? He's going to go into that lab. They're going to work with him. They're going to see what he can do. He's going to come out better than he came into it. And then he's going to be on this team maybe next year, maybe the year after that, right? And especially with the younger guys who, they draft college ready now players because they want them in the bigs as soon as possible. Again, to sell tickets and get people to the stadium. They don't go for the high school guys all the time. They did this year, which is, to be fair to Perry Minasian. And they are going to be guys that they have to work with for quite some time in order to get things done. So it's not instantaneous. And that's the problem with having an owner whose whole concept of what's successful is from a marketing standpoint. You can't have any long-term vision. You can't have any long-term plan because Arte Moreno doesn't believe it's going to sell tickets for this year. Now, we've talked ad nauseum on the fact that, Shohei Ohtani for $700 million, that's a pretty big risk. But if you had thought long-term, you would have made that $700 million back in a year? Less? Maybe you would have made more than that in a year because of all the marketing opportunity and value that's there. So talk about marketing, guys. How did you miss that marketing opportunity? How did you let that pass you by? So again, they think year to year. They don't think ahead. They think, how do we make one more cent more than last year? And if you really want to split hairs here, Mike, look at what Perry has been able to do in terms of, staying under the luxury tax. Like take all that stuff away. Take the Arte Moreno-ness out of it, which is staying under the luxury tax and not selling at the deadline and trying to get players that have big names or what have you, right? Take all that away. What's Perry done separately from that? Well, he's made the trade for Logan O'Hoppe. He's drafted Zach Neto and Nolan Shonowell and Christian Moore, right? He's doing everything that I think a baseball person can do under Arte Moreno. But once Artie's involved, it's, we really can't sell at the deadline. Then why are people going to come the rest of the season if this team isn't going to be competitive? If Taylor Ward's gone, who are people going to watch in left field, right? And so if you take all of the artiness out of the equation, that needs to be a new word, artiness. Take that out of the equation, you can see that Perry Minasian, to Robert Murray's, credit and, testament, that Perry Minasian's a good guy. You feel like if the Angels didn't have Arte Moreno as an owner, Perry Minasian might be up there as one of the better general managers in baseball. And that's because you have to take Arte Moreno out of the equation. So he had a huge influence over this deadline because, again, why do people come to games if we're going to be out of it, if we're going to sell? That's what they're worried about, and that's their main concern.
It's time to fuel up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors to your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or you're making memories with friends, this is perfect for your energy game. And honestly, there's some days where you just need an extra boost to stay sharp and stay energized. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion is one of the best parts about not having to go to the clubhouse or chase down the bev cart. You can get it for your own drink right now, and you can get started at 5hourenergy.com and use our promo code LOCKEDONGOLF. You're going to get 20% off your order. Remember, this offer is only valid until September 30th and cannot be used with other promotions, and the code's not good on subscription orders, so keep that in mind. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36 holes, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today at the number 5energy.com.
Mike, Sam Blum was all over the media scrum and asking Perry the questions that I think we want to hear as Angel fans. And he asked Perry about the plans for the rest of this year and possibly 2026. A little awkward exchange here. Yeah. And so I'm going to zoom in on this because you pasted it really small. Here we go. So Sam asked him, when you look at 2026, I know you guys talk a lot about growth, the last couple of years. Do you look at 2026 as a real chance to compete? Minasian said, I don't make predictions. We'll get to 26 when we get to 2026. We're more competitive than we were. We wake up every day. We want this place to be better. I've said that since day one. So we're competitive now. We've had a very competitive season up to this point. We'll see what happens over the next 2 months, but I'm more concentrated on 2025 and worried about 2025 and worried about tomorrow, as in the next game. Sam said, yeah, but at the deadline, every team seems to assess where they stand and what they think their window is and when they think they can compete. Where do you feel like that is for you? Do you feel like 2026 is reasonable? And Minasian said, what's the question? And then Sam said, every team uses the deadline to think over where they're at, if they can compete now or later. And I'm curious, where do you feel like your standing is? Do you feel like that includes next year as a chance to break off a long playoff drought? And Perry said, I don't make predictions. Again, we've added a couple of relievers that we feel like are going to help the team. We're worried about the White Sox tomorrow. Of course, this is Thursday. I feel like we played pretty good ball over the last week. We'll see how the rest of the 2 months go. So based on what we've read and what we've heard, Michael, does it really feel like this team is only thinking about and planning for right now? What do you say?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it in the previous segment, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's talking about the entertainment value right now. What can we do to get people to the stadium right now? And if they sold off, man, that wouldn't get people to the stadium right now. They wouldn't have walked off on Sunday. They probably wouldn't have been competitive last night against the Rays. So they're thinking about right now. I think Perry is thinking about the future, but I think Perry is also protecting his owner and saying, man, we're really focused on right now. Because right now we have a really great young core and we want them to grow and develop and all of those things. Well, what about 2026? Well, in 2026, we'll talk about it when we get there, right? There are other teams that'll go, yeah, we're working towards that. We need to be there. I've said on this show that if Perry came out and said, we're building towards 2026, we want to have a really good team, not competitive team, good team that gets to the playoffs in 2026. That's what we're building towards. I'm in as a fan. You're in as a fan. And I think our everydayers are in going, hey, they have a plan. They have a strategy. We're going to go and celebrate this. Yeah, we'll watch Zach Neto and Nolan Shawnoel and Christian Moore. We'll watch them develop. I mean, we watched a 99-loss team last year that didn't have its stars because everybody was hurt. We still showed up to the stadium because we love this team. If you told us, hey, man, we're working towards 26 or we're working towards 27, I'm in because then I can go, cool. I'm going to look really closely at the draft. Cool. Who's in the minor leagues? Cool. Who's the second tier player that's going to follow up Christian Moore? Yeah. I'm going to be excited about that. You give me something to hang on to. Right now, you're not giving me anything to hang on to because this team that I'm watching right now is different than the team that you're talking about. Competitive? Well, that depends again on how you're defining it. And I define it very different than Perry Minasian does.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that, Perry Minasian, I think, like you said, he's somebody who he is thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
His track record has shown that, right? We wouldn't get, I know everybody crapped on it because he's not good this year. You don't get an Oswald Peraza because you're not thinking about the next couple of years because Renjifo's gone, Moncada's gone. And so you bring this guy in that you're like, hey, let's hook him up with Johnny Washington, see what we can get out of his swing. Hit a ball really hard last night. And so, he's got some mechanics there. And I think that could be fixed. It almost feels like the Yankees just didn't make the time for him to get fixed, right? They just really needed him to play third base, so they didn't have to run DJ LeMahieu out there all the time. But that's neither here nor there. What I am saying is, I think if you look at Perry's actions versus what he says, you're splitting hairs and you're walking a fine line of Perry gets it. Perry understands that I got to build something for the future. I got to build something that's going to keep us, in the next couple of years. But as of right now, he's got to toe the competitive line. He's got to say that over and over again. He's got to spout that. He's got to make sure that he, like you said, protects his owner, the man who employs him, yada, yada, yada. But I think if you look at his actions and really drill down into that, he's trying to build something for the next couple of years because he's doing it despite Arte Moreno and the ties that bind his hands, right? The handcuffs that Perry has put in.
Yeah.
So I say all that because he says one thing, but I think his actions show another. And I think that's the fine line you have to walk as a member of this organization, isn't it?
Yeah. It's frustrating to me as I hear you talk about what he's doing and me talk about what he's doing, protecting the owner. That's just frustrating. Like I would love for him to be able to say, yeah, this owner's awesome. And here's what we're doing. But I also know that it's his boss, it's his employer. And he is building towards the future. The problem is he's got to hit on every single move.
Right. Everything has to be great, right?
Yep. And if he doesn't hit on every single move, then you find yourself in a position where it's like, well, that guy wasn't great. Soler, he's been hurt, right? Like, and then he'll get crapped on for it. And there's going to be comparisons. The Mickey Moniak, right? Release. Well, he's crushing it in Colorado. His splits obviously are not great, but he's in Colorado and he's performing like he should. So that's what's frustrating about this sandbox that he's playing in. he's got to hit on every single draft pick, every single trade, and every single free agent signing.
Yeah, you got to have a 100% success rate. If you're not able to, sign your big time free agents, if you're not able to attract those big time free agents, and so then you end up with Moncada and Anderson and even Kikuchi. Kikuchi's been great, but he's not the big time ace that you need for the next couple of years. And so we'll see how this season turns out for them, and also what it means for them over the offseason as they look to the future and look to 2026 when that time comes.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Angels on YouTube so you don't miss any of this great Halo content, including the best postcast in the biz with Gavin Carlson. He's live after every game right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at Super Halo Bros. Come on over to today's show, whether you're watching or listening. Find the show on YouTube, find the episode on YouTube, get in the comment section because we want to hear from you. Mike, what do we have on deck for Wednesday's show?
We're going to talk about Jo Adell. What's he doing at the plate that was different than what he was doing in June? I know he hit a home run last night. Did something change for him? We're going to do a deep dive tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, we hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.
I got nothing. You got anything?
Nothing? I would say what I said to you over the text message after the Adell home run, but I can't.